listening to Tapped In, Buckingham County's half hour to empower on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Listen up and get tapped into local important resources, information, and topics. Learn more about the topics of today's show at buncombecounty.org. Okay, it's time to get tapped in.
Hello, 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 and greetings to all that are listening to my voice. This is Tapped In, and I am one of your hosts, Zakiya Bell Rogers.
And I'm Leonard Jones.
Leonard and I come to you from the Community and Public Engagement Department of Buckingham County, often referred to as CAPE. So, Leonard, who do we have today?
So for today's episode, we have Corinne Duncan, Buncombe County's Director of Elections. If you haven't heard, we do have an election coming up this November. And so for the 2022 is a midterm year election. We want to empower our listeners with the most accurate and current information about this year's elections, from registering to vote and participating in the upcoming primaries and general elections. Without no further ado, I would like to say welcome, Corinne.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
So Corinne, tell us a little bit about yourself and your position.
I am the director in Buncombe County, North Carolina. Every county in North Carolina has a director, and there are 100 of us. And I've been with the county for 7 years.
Oh, awesome. So, what are some important dates around the upcoming election that the community needs to know?
Yes, so the 2022 general election is already underway. With North Carolina starting absentee by mail voting last Friday, we're actually the first in the nation to vote in this election.
Mm-hmm.
You can request your absentee ballot now, and early voting begins next month, October 20th through the 5th. And of course, election day is November 8th. Preliminary results will be released that night at 7:30, beginning at 7:30. And that is, of course, a big day. That's election day. And the vast majority of results will show that night, but they're preliminary. After Election Day, the election's still going. 10 days after November 8th is a period called canvass, where we process any timely absentee by mail ballots and all the provisional ballots. We also audit during that period. Once all of that is complete, then our board will come together on November 18th to publicly certify the election, and we will submit those official results to the State Board of Elections.
Okay.
And what was those dates around early voting?
Early voting begins October 20th and ends November 5th. That's Monday through Friday, 8 to 7:30 p.m. And that last Saturday, October 29th, and Sunday, the 30th, is 10 to 3 p.m. And the last Saturday, November 5th, is 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
So what are those locations? Like, do you have those locations for the early voting this year?
Yes, so early voting locations vary every election, and every county gets to choose their early voting location, so it's important that we're advertising those. The last midterm election, we had 11 sites, and this year we have 12. Our board wanted to add a second South Asheville location to keep up with the demand in that area. And unfortunately, our staff had difficulty finding a location. And we expressed this in a board meeting, and that led to a community member suggesting the Friendship Community Center on Shiloh Road. So we checked that out, and we thought it was great. So we anticipate that being a good location for us. So it pays to have that conversation. And we're always open to new places that serve voters better. So if you have a suggestion, reach out.
Mm-hmm.
So you said we had a addition to the location. Was there any other changes in early voting locations?
Most early voting locations, each election, they change slightly.
Mm-hmm.
So most of our early voting locations are at the libraries. So we have Black Mountain Library, East Asheville Library, Inca Candler Library, Fairview, North Asheville, and the West Asheville Library. Then in addition to those locations, we'll be voting at our warehouse downtown, the Friendship Community Center, the Lester Community Center, the Weaverville Community Center, and the Wesley Grant Southside Community Center.
Awesome. So we know this is not a presidential election. So what governmental offices are we voting for in this election?
There are 31 different offices up for election in Buncombe County.
So that's a lot.
That is a lot. So that's from U.S. Senate and House of Representatives to North Carolina House and Senate. There's many judges. The DA is up for re-election. And then there's more local offices like the county commissioners, the sheriff. We have 2 different school boards now, the county and the city of Asheville, and 3 different cities, Asheville Mayor and Council, Black Mountain Mayor and Council, and then the Montreat Commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
There are also 2 county bond referenda on the ballot this time, one for open spaces and one for housing.
Oh, that's really cool. I think we have a bond referendum interview coming up in a couple of weeks, so that we're gonna have that information for everyone. So you said we now have 2 school boards. So Asheville City School is now having an election for board members.
Yes, that's right. So the Asheville City Schools used to be an appointed district, and now it is an elected district. So that's new for this year. For the very first time, you'll see that on the ballot. And not all of those races will be on your particular ballot. It depends on where you live. For instance, if you live in Black Mountain, then you're not going to have City of Asheville races on your ballot. And so the best way to know what will be on your particular ballot is to look up your sample ballot online and using the voter information tool on our website. That's buncombecounty.org/vote. And that tool is really useful for not just looking up your sample ballot, but also making sure that you're registered, that your registration is updated, and you can also find where your polling locations are as well there. So it's very useful. And of course, you can always call our office at 828-250-4200, and we can help you that way too.
Awesome.
Are there ways that the community can get involved with the elections this year beyond just voting?
Yes, absolutely. There are many ways. The first way that most people think about is being a poll worker, and there are 2 types of poll workers. There are the early voters, where you will work shifts every day for 17 days, and that pays between $12 and $14 an hour. And then election day is one long day, and there are 3 roles for election day, and they are chief judge and party judges, and those you go through the political parties for those positions. And then there are assistants who also help at the polls, and those are $300, $225, and $200 respectively for the day.
Okay.
Are there any eligibility requirements to participate?
To be a poll worker, you do need to be a registered voter in Buncombe County.
Is it an age limit?
You need to be at least 17.
At least 17. And another question follow up on that is there any compensation with that?
Yes, so poll workers, people do think of poll workers as being volunteer, and it almost is with the pay rate, but yes, you do get paid. So early voting is between $12 and $14 an hour, and then election day are those flat rate fees, flat rate pays. And we also have other roles, other ways to be involved. So you can also be on a multi-partisan assistance team. Those are people who go out to assisted living facilities and help people request absentee by mail ballots, and that's $15 an hour. And then you can also come to all of our board meetings. That's all open to the public, and we also stream those online.
Oh, that would be nice. So if you didn't hear, starting at age 17. So if you have a high school student who's probably a senior and needs a few extra, coins in their pocket, let's talk to them about giving back to the community and becoming a poll worker, right? So also, when you're talking about the 17-year-olds and registering to vote, how can a 17-year-old register to vote before the election?
So the requirement is that on election day, you're 18 years old. So you just have to be 18 by the day of election.
Okay.
And what is the process just to register to vote for any listener out there?
Essentially, to register to vote, you need to fill out a form and turn it to our office by October 14th. You need to be at least 18 by election day, a U.S. citizen, and a resident of North Carolina for at least 30 days, and not incarcerated for a felony. So you can have a felony, you just can't be incarcerated currently for it. You'll need to provide your name and address along with some identifying information. So either your driver's license number or the last 4 of your social security number. And paper's the only way to register initially unless you go through the DMV. Either way, you need to make sure that you sign. And also, the Green Party was added as a party this year. And so in addition to Democrat and Republican, you can also choose to be Green or Libertarian, and you can always register as unaffiliated as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain the process with the felons? I have seen people out in the community with unlock the vote. Is that something new for North Carolina?
Yes, so the felon laws changed a little bit this year. And currently, you can vote if you have a felony and are not incarcerated. Previously, you needed to wait until you had completed all of your sentence, so parole and whatnot. But now, as long as you are not actively in jail, then you can vote.
That's actually very. I mean, I think it would give folks more pride. Who are involved in the justice system to feel like they can, be able to do that. So I think that is something great for North Carolina. Are we one of the only places that do that, or do you know?
Each state in the country has different rules around felonies. Some states have stricter and some have looser. Some have no felony requirements at all.
Okay.
And is there an ID requirement? Because that's another thing you hear.
Yes, we get asked that every year, every election, and so far no photo ID is required in North Carolina.
Good. What have we learned from the last election? What are some changes that are now in place with Buncombe County?
So the last election definitely continues the pattern of increased engagement and more absentee by mail voting. So we think that this will be the largest midterm election ever. Every election seems to be the largest ever. And we're prepared for that with more voting locations, increased staffing, and lots of communication to voters like we're doing right now.
So you said absentee voting. When does that have to be postmarked and put into the mail for it to count?
So absentee by mail is a two-part process. So you have to request your ballot first, and then there are different deadlines associated with sending in the ballot. Mm-hmm. And so the deadline to request your ballot is November 1st, and you can do that by form online through a portal, or through coming into our office and turning that form in. And then you will need to return your ballot by election day, or have it postmarked by election day and received into our office by the 14th. And that's a small extension from previous years. Usually it's 3 days, but that lands on a holiday, so it'll be the next Monday. But avoid the mail delays and get your ballot in as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Can you mail those? Is that you mail those in, and it has to be turned in before the election day, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So we send out, and we started sending out ballots on Friday. So we sent out almost 3,000 ballots so far. So those went in the mail, and people got them the next day.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty amazing. Yes. So we've actually received some ballots in the mail back to our office, and we've even had some people turn in person.
And so a follow-up question around that is, if I mail in my ballot early with the absentee voting, is there any way I can verify that it was received, or do I have to wait till after the primary election?
Every day on our website, the absentee voter file is updated, so you can go on there and log in and see if it has been checked in.
Okay. So I know when...
And you can always call us. You can always call us for anything.
And that's 828-250-4200, right?
Yes.
I remember. Okay, so another question around absentee voting. When I can also walk it in, right? And you don't have to give some type of reason of why you need an absentee vote.
That's correct.
Okay.
In North Carolina, anyone can vote absentee by mail.
Okay. All right.
And then what if there's an issue? Would there be a notification if you have any issues with my absentee ballot prior to the primary election?
That is a great question. So let's say you forgot to sign the envelope, or there was some kind of missing information. Our office will contact you. So either we will call you or we will send a letter. There are some issues that can be resolved by what's called a cure letter. So we'll send that letter, and if you fill out the information and send it back, then it's good. Otherwise, we need to what's called spoil that ballot and send you a new one.
Okay. So when you're voting in person, what if they can't find your name or information? Can you register right then and there, or is it like too late? Even if it's like the day of elections and you know you're registered, but somehow you got kicked out the system.
Yeah, so things do happen.
Mm-hmm.
Where everyone that we're people, we're all just people. Poll workers are people too, and so things can happen, and people might not know that they aren't registered. And so, in order to make sure that everybody who is eligible to vote can vote, we have the provisional process. Mm-hmm. So if you arrive at a polling location and the poll worker can't find your name in the rolls, or you go to the wrong polling location if it's election day, then you will be offered a provisional ballot. And what happens with those ballots is that we keep those until that canvass period that I talked about at the beginning. And the board reviews those, and anyone who was eligible for that election will count.
I know for someone like me, my last name is hyphenated. And sometimes it's hyphenated and sometimes it's not when people, write it into the system. And so every time I vote, it's always like, okay, what's your address? And so we go through all the lists, and then they find me and they're, oh, we finally found you. And then like the poll workers like high five each other because I think now when I come in, they already know it's me because I always go into the Oakley area. And so make sure that if you're hyphenated, and also give a little grace because sometimes things don't get entered in just as it's written because sometimes we don't write clear and all of those great things. So give grace when you go out there and just remember, and these poll workers, yes, they are paid positions, but they are really volunteering their time. And some of them are retired and some of them are students. And so we just really need to give love in that process.
Yes, absolutely. But no one should ever be turned away. You should at least be able to vote provisionally.
Yes.
So I have a question around just with early voting. I know on election day, I think you have to go to your assigned polling location. But with early voting, can you explain, is there any restrictions or requirements when you go early vote?
Yeah, that's right. That is the beauty of early voting. There's a few things with early voting, and that is that for all of those 12 locations in Buncombe County, you can go to any one. So anyone that's convenient to you. And we have a weight map in Buncombe County that's different. Not every county has a weight map. And you can go there and look to see how many people are in line at all of those locations. Wow. So you can choose which one. And if you did miss that October 14th deadline to register to vote, you can register to vote and vote during early voting.
Oh, you can register at early voting.
Mm-hmm. So since the 2020 election, voter fraud and integrity has been the point of debate. Can you share what Buckingham County has done to secure our elections and maintain voter integrity?
Yes, so we take and always have taken security and accuracy very seriously. Mm-hmm. And that's something that, let's face it, no one in elections is in it for the money. This is a heartfelt job, and it's something that people take pride in. So we have lots of partnerships with different agencies like Homeland Security and the State Board to help us with cybersecurity and physical security. And in Buncombe County, we have a really good county structure too with those things. We have paper ballots, which means that there is the electronic track and the paper tracking. Mm-hmm. All voting systems are certified in North Carolina, so you can't even have a scanner in a location without it being certified. Mm-hmm. We have no connection to the internet, so all of those machines don't touch the internet. And then we do all kinds of accuracy testing and audits before the election, during the election, and after the election. And then, of course, there is always the investigations division, so that if something does go wrong, those things get referred to the State Board of Elections.
Yeah.
So another question is, what are resources available if a resident have challenges at the polls?
Good question. So at every polling location, there is a chief judge, mm-hmm. and any issues should be brought up to that person at the polling location. And then, of course, you can always call our office.
Mhm.
Always call our office and let us know. We have contacts with the many of the observers that are at polling locations too. So we really try to keep an eye on things, and we have what we call rovers, and that's another way you can get involved. You can be an election day rover that go out and check on sites for us as well.
So so Rover, you just kind of like drive around to each site and make sure everything's in compliance?
Yeah, and well, a rover is they're hired by our office, and they help us with supplies or machine issues or anything that happens at a site, measuring buffer zones, anything like that we need on that day, and to help poll workers close down. They're tired by the end of the night, so they need support at that time.
And I know, like when you have people who are differently abled come to early vote, is there a particular way that they can vote without getting out of their cars and going in?
Great question. So during early voting and election day, we have ADA equipment inside the polling location, so that helps with visually impaired and auditory things. But we also have curbside voting. So if you are not able to go into the polling location for any reason, then you can vote at your car.
Okay. And that's usually it's like one of those little meter response things, like you drive over it and it kind of dings and...
Yes, our curbside bell.
Yeah. I just made that very complicated.
It has a little hose, you drive over it and it dings inside the polling location and someone will come out and help you.
Okay. Yeah, I was explaining that like it was like an engineering question at that moment. So I mean, so there really is not an excuse why you should not vote. There's absentee, there's early day, there's curbside, there's in person. There's just so many ways for you to be involved and able to use your voting voice. So what happens, like let's say I'm going to go use my voting voice and everything, and I get there and I'm at the wrong poll and all this right here, and you said that we'll get a provisional ballot. But if I'm like in the city trying to vote and I need to be in the county trying to vote, do I still get a provisional ballot or do I have to go into the county?
So unlike early voting, on election day you need to go to your assigned polling location, and that's important for what you are describing.
Yes.
On election day, only the ballots that are specific to that precinct are available at election day. And so if you go to a different location that might not have the ballot that is correct for you, so you have a choice. You are allowed to stay at that polling location and vote there, and the ballot that is closest to yours will be chosen. But you can also go, the polling workers can help you find the location that you should be at, and you can head there.
Yeah. So another question on that. So do you have to vote does your ballot also, is it like party specific, and how does that look like for like your sub parties?
So this is a general election, so everybody will have the same, regardless of party. Previously this year we had a primary election, and that does take into account party affiliation, but not this one. So we have surprisingly even less ballot styles. We have a lot of them, but less ballot styles this election because everyone votes on the same contests.
So Corinne, you have given us a lot of information to chew on this half hour. How can voters get up-to-date information and stay abreast of the current voting events?
So the best ways are our website. We really try to keep that updated, and we work with the CAPE team continually to do that. And the state board's website also. Our website is buncombecounty.org/vote. You can call us, again, 828-250-4200, and you can come to our office. And we did move offices this year, so we're at 59 Woodfin Place in downtown Asheville now.
Okay. And there's plenty of parking.
There is plenty of parking.
Yes. And so, and The staff is amazing. You will be greeted either with a smile or bright eyes, either one. It depends on if they had a cup of coffee that morning. But they are there to help, and they're willing to help because we as Buckingham County understand the importance of voting with your voice or using your voice to vote. Leonard, you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I would just like to remind the listeners today that voting is one of our civic duties, and it's a great privilege to have in this country the right to vote. And when you look at the past, a lot of people have especially advocated, they marched and demanded the right to vote. So we strongly encourage the listeners out there today to participate in this process. Let your voice be heard and to have your ballot. And one of the best ways I feel like all my life since I have voted has been early voting. I think early voting gives you variety. It gives you a variety of places you can go and the times that you can vote. And so I strongly encourage people to go out voting. And as Corinne said, we have 12 locations across the county. And so we just want to let the listeners know you can go to the Black Mountain Library, the election warehouse, which is at 50 Cox in downtown Asheville, the East Asheville Library, Inca Canada Library, Fairview Library, Friendship Community Center, which is in the Shallow community, Leicester Community Center, North Asheville Library, South Buncombe Library, Weaverville Community Center, Wesley Grant Southside Center, and West Asheville. So we just want to remind you that those early voting dates, again, is October the 20th through November the 5th, and is Monday, it's all through the week, various hours. So Monday and Friday from 8 a.m. to 7:30, and Saturday, October the 29th, and Sunday the 30th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then on the last Saturday, which is November the 1st, it'll be 8 a.m. To 3 p.m. So we strongly encourage people to participate in the election. Strongly encourage you to do it early and go out there and vote.
And just one correction, the last Saturday is November the 5th. You said first. I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. So
No,
the last
it's
Saturday,
fine.
November the 5th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I just don't want somebody will look at their calendar and they'll call you, Leonard. It'll probably be Miss Sophie. She'll call you and say, Leonard, it is not the first. Because we love Miss Sophie. And her and Mr. Randy here at WRES always support us and always give us great space and great feedback on what we're doing. Corinne, now this is your moment. What would you like for our listeners to know?
First, I think that there has been a lot of polarization happening, and I want everyone to know that from our office, we are very confident in the process. And so you can be confident that your vote counts.
Oh, one more question. The voter sticker, they
yes.
had a contest.
Yes, we have a new contest this year where children were able to make an I voted sticker. So we have chosen 4 of those artworks, and they are up online until the 24th for voting. Whichever of those voters stickers gets chosen will be available at voting locations.
And that's exciting because this is a local person, little person who will be making big change because we all like stickers. I don't care how old you are. My daughter usually steals my sticker because I always take her to vote with me. And that's another thing, parents, if you go on a Saturday, take your little ones with you so they can see the process. The earliest you can get them involved in seeing what it takes and how easy this is and how powerful this is, that is the best way that we can ensure that we'll have future voters as well.
And that's the neat thing about earlier voting, that you can take a friend, so you can make a plan, strategize with your friends, and y'all all go together and just participate in the process. So that's another reason I like early voting as well.
Grab your lunch, fast food, and get in a fast line, and while you're waiting, snack on those fries. But think about it this way: you're burning calories while standing in that line eating fries. I'm doing everything I can to get you out there and voting. So, Linda, do you have anything that you want to add? You or Corinne, anything that you want to? Because we're getting ready to wrap up, and I want to make sure that everything that's on your heart comes out.
Just want to make sure everyone go out there and vote and take a friend with you.
Would you like me to give a summary?
Sure.
So 3 things you should do to get ready to vote is make sure that you're registered. Do that by October 14th. And you can go to our website, to the voter lookup tool, to do that. And then make sure that you look up your sample ballot so that you're prepared and ready to vote. And you can do your research. And then choose how you want to vote. So we have absentee by mail. We talked about those deadlines. And same with early voting, October 20th through November 5th. And then, of course, you can vote on Election Day. You have to go to your assigned polling location that day, and that is from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
And what's the day of the election?
November 8th.
November the 8th is the last day you actually can cast your ballot.
All right, so we're getting ready to wrap up. And one thing we always want to do is thank WRES and thank Corinne for taking a moment and educating us on voting. And we hear this every year, rock your vote, get out and vote. And a lot of times we feel like our voices aren't heard because the person we voted for does not win or something. But I'm here to tell you that your voice is important. Your vote is important. And this is a chance for you to participate in your community. A lot of times we lose touch with being community involved, but this is a stepping stone for you to get back out there. You know, they always say someone before you died for you to have the right to vote so that you could live and walk into any polling place and vote. So take that moment, stand on the shoulders of those before you, and use your voice to vote. Here in Buncombe County, we are one Buncombe, and we give you love. Thank you.
Go vote. Thank you for listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower, here on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Learn more about today's topics at buncombecounty.org. Otherwise, stay tuned for more great episodes coming up.